According to EDH Rec, the average Amareth deck is going to set you back $464. I'm going to show you how to build it on theme and on a budget of only $60. Let's get into it. Getting into ramp, we got cards like Utopia Sprawl, Wild Growth, and Overgrowth to help us power out our commander early, or to recast it if it gets removed. We also have cards that are going to let us search our library for basic lands and put them into our hand. Cards like Restoration of Iganjo, Elfheim Sanctuary, or the Birth of Meletis. Restoration of Iganjo and Birth of Meletis are both going to leave behind a body after a while, and Elfheim Sanctuary is going to let us get any basic land out of our deck at the cost of our draw step. Now this sounds like a downside, but in a deck like Amareth, where we're going to be flipping off the top of our library, it's really not a downside. So we've powered out our commander early, and now we got to keep it around for the long haul. We're going to do that using cards like Indestructibility, Shielded by Faith, and Shield of the Oversoul, all of which are going to do exactly what they sound like they're going to do: keep our commander from dying to damage-based removal. Indestructibility has the added bonus of being able to go onto any permanent, and Shield of the Oversoul is going to give our commander +2/+2. And I can already hear you clacking away at that keyboard, but what if they try to exile a commander instead? Well, that's why we packed this deck full of cards like Cradle of Safety, Curator's Ward, and Alpha Authority. Alpha Authority also makes it so our commander can only be blocked by one creature. Cradle of Safety is going to give it +1/+1, and Curator's Ward has the bonus ability of being able to attach to any permanent we choose. And if the permanent is historic, we get to draw 2 cards when it leaves the battlefield. Now, you just sat down next to Timmy and he's playing his Worm Tribal deck and he's trying to flip into a 15/15 Great Worm. How are we going to stop him? By turning his commander into a brick, using cards like Kasmina's Transmutation, Darksteel Mutation, and Imprison in the Moon. Darksteel Mutation is going to turn it into a 0/1 Indestructible Insect, Kasmina's Transmutation is going to turn it into a 1/1 Frog, and Imprison in the Moon is going to turn it into a land that taps for colorless. But what's that? Johnny's trying to go infinite using his Isochron Scepter combo? I don't think so. That's when we hit him with Consulate Crackdown. When this ETBs, we're going to exile all artifacts our opponents control until it leaves the battlefield. This is going to be straight value for us because it's not going to affect us in the slightest, because we're only packing auras in this deck. But what's that? Johnny's still not done? Now he's going to try for some graveyard shenanigans? Well, good thing we've got Ashes of the Abhorrent and Ground Seal. Both of these cards shut down graveyards. And with Ashes of the Abhorrent, we're going to gain a life whenever a creature dies. And with Ground Seal, we're going to get a card when it ETBs, and potentially 2 if our commander's on the battlefield. Now how do we plan on drawing into all this stuff? If our commander's on the battlefield, we're going to use her ability to flip cards off the top, and if not, we're going to use cards like Sithis, Harvest Hand, Enchantress's Presence, and Eidolon of Blossoms. And with Sithis and Enchantress's Presence, all we have to do is cast an enchantment to get the card draw. And when we cast Eidolon of Blossoms, it's going to cantrip us. And anytime an enchant after that ETBs, we're also going to cantrip. Now, let's talk about some of the auras we got in this deck. We got Sentinel Eyes, Favor of the Overbeing, and Crab Umbra. All 3 of these cards give our commander some form of vigilance. Only with Crab Umbra, we have to pay 3 to do it. Then there's Boar Umbra, Felidar Umbra, and Hyena Umbra. Boar Umbra is going to give +3/+3, Felidar Umbra is going to give lifelink, and Hyena Umbra is going to give our commander first strike. Now, a few of you might have realized by now that a lot of these auras have something on it called Totem Armor. What does Totem Armor do? Let me explain. If enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. Not only that, but if we manage to stack multiple auras with Totem Armor onto our commander, we get to choose which aura to remove. And to make sure we can get in for damage, we've got Unflinching Courage, Talons of the Wildwood, and Spirit Mantle. Unflinching Courage is going to give Trample and Lifelink. Talons of the Wildwood is also going to give Trample, but it has the added ability of paying 2 and a green to return it from our graveyard to our hand. And Spirit Mantle is going to give our commander +1 and protection from creatures, meaning it can't be blocked or dealt damage by creatures. And to help us close out the game, we've got Eidolon of Countless Battles, Mantle of the Ancient, and Ethereal Armor. With Eidolon's Bestow ability, we're going to be able to enchant our commander and give it +1/+1 for each creature we control, and +1/+1 for each aura we control. And with Mantle of the Ancients, we're going to be able to return any number of target auras and or equipments from our graveyard to the battlefield attached to the enchanted creature, and it's going to give it +1/+1 for each aura or equipment enchanted this way. And with Ethereal Armor, our commander is going to get +1/+1 for each enchantment we control, and it's going to gain first strike. And with all this value stacking up over time and our commander constantly triggering, and it's going to be no time flat before we can two-shot or even one-shot our opponents. And after all this, if you're still thinking to yourself, $60 is still too much, then check out this video right here where I make the ultimate budget commander for only $30. And before you go, crush that like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment, and I'll catch you in the next one.